Welcome to the Billy Shultz Music Podcast.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Are you guys writing stuff today? Or are you getting in the studio? What do you guys have on the agenda?
Yeah, bro, we're actually getting in the studio. Let me check my calendar. I think it's like Wednesday. So our debut single, Real You, comes out on the 6th, which is Friday?
Friday.
Yeah, that's Friday. And so the goal is to put that out, or that's coming out on the 6th. And then the goal is to, we already got a couple more in the hopper to finish up and have the next song out in a month from now. And then one more after that, a month from now. So kind of put out like a little 3 or 4 song EP.
That's awesome. Hell yeah, man. This is a totally brand new thing, you two, right? You guys are just starting this project?
Yeah, we both have, like, I mean, obviously you knew me from my band, and Drew's done some bands in the past, and he's originally from Mississippi. And when I moved to Nashville, we met, and it was just like an instant like vibe thing. I'm like, oh, this dude's awesome. We definitely need to like hang out and make stuff, together. And we've done a lot of different stuff. You have a pop project, and we got to do some of that together. And one day we were just like, bro, let's try to write a country song. I'm like, I'm from Kentucky, farm boy. I'm like, you're from Mississippi, farm boy. I'm like, we should just like try. And we wrote like our first single in 30 minutes. And it was like, it just felt like super easy and super fun. And it was one of those things. It was like, man, even if like no one else likes this, it was worth it to me. You know what I mean? So
yeah, man, that's how the best songs get written sometimes, is you just sit down and say, hey, let's knock something out. Let's see what we can do.
Having 20 plus years of redneckology in me, I was like, we had to put something to use here.
100%.
It all kind of worked out.
I feel that. Yeah, I grew up in North Carolina, so I'm right there with you. I know exactly what that's like.
So
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, basically, I'll just give you guys a quick rundown of what I'm doing. I just started doing the podcast on the channel. I've just been seeing a little bit of success on the YouTube channel, and this is something I've wanted to do for the longest time, is chat with musicians, talk with people who have a history playing guitar, playing, any kind of instrument, or guys like you guys who are starting new projects or who have been a part of projects for a while. So this is like kind of just the beginning of me breaking into that universe. So first thing I want to say is I appreciate you guys taking the time, chatting with me. And I guess like I guess the main thing that we can jump into is if you guys just want to talk about your history. I mean, you can go all the way back to the beginning of how you guys met, the bands, projects you were in before, how it, the full just detailed history of how it came to be like where you guys are at right now.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, like we said, you and I met on tour 2016. I was in like a rock band at the time, and it was super fun. And I don't know, man, we were doing that for a long time, and I just kind of felt on the inside like God was telling me to like move to Nashville, and I didn't really know why. I didn't really have like a lot of connections there, and I ended up meeting my now wife of 4 years on tour, and I think it was actually on the same tour. It was just like a different day, but I met her, and she was living in Nashville at the time, and I just felt like I don't know, that was the girl I was supposed to marry, and I was supposed to move up there. And I did, and met Drew, and we actually met doing we like are involved in a ministry here. Do you want to tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, we do a ministry called My Local, and that's kind of my involvement to Nashville. I met some of the guys that were a part of that ministry when I was living in Mississippi at the time, and I was like, these guys are awesome. And a similar story, I felt like I was like, hey, you need to be in Nashville. And it was one of those things I couldn't like get off my mind and off my heart, that like that's where we needed to be. And I was already married to my wife at the time, and well, she's still my wife now, but even at the time I was still married to her.
There you go.
We've been married for 6 years now. So but yeah, we moved here and really just wanted to do My Local, and didn't have any, like, I love music, and I lead worship and stuff at churches and stuff, and didn't really have like a big huge plan to release music or do music, and just got connected with all the right people once we got here. Then that's when I started my pop project, which Carson was talking about. It's called Lindsay the Band. This is named after my wife. And so that's just really fun. And so I'm doing that, and then Carson was like, man, we got together and decided to start writing, and we've kind of done our music somewhat together. Like, we've always had a lot of input in each other's projects and things we do since
we've
met.
been looking for an opportunity to like work together and make a living together since like I feel like the first time we met. We actually went to kind of this whole kind of group of like church friends when we first met. It was super like young and people didn't really know each other and everybody was kind of looking for friends at the same time. So we all went one night to this place called Pinewood here in downtown Nashville, and everybody was kind of sitting in like small groups of people they didn't know. And so Drew and I got grouped together, my wife and his wife, and we just like immediately hit it off, and we were like immediately just kind of like connecting on like the like redneck, like hillbilly side of growing up, but also like love for music and you know, love for film and different things like that. And so I think from there, we were talking about this the other day when we were laughing. We were like, bro, we've tried to do so many things to like to figure out a way to where we could like, I think like we both love like Tim and Eric. And so those guys just do such a great job at just like creating stuff that they want to do. And they just like do it together. Like they basically have figured out a way to be like professional friends is kind of what we call it. And so we've had like a podcast. We've like you said, we've both done like music separately, but we've kind of like been able to write that together in some ways. Yeah, we did a pilot. We got a pilot for like a TV show that we got accepted for the pilot, and then we pitched the pilot and they didn't pick it up, and so we didn't get that.
We're like, onward,
Yeah,
next thing.
So we were finally like, man, let's just try to write a country song. And like I said, we just kind of sat down with an acoustic guitar, and in 30 minutes we wrote this single. And you know, with being a musician, like that is so rare. And I don't think it's not always about the talent. It's not always about like who's the best songwriter. Sometimes it's about like how comfortable are like is the person that you're writing with, like, is that someone you're like, oh, this dude's like my brother, you know what I mean? Like I could like, it's just easy. Like there's no walls up. You don't have to feel like, man, if I don't perform here, it's not going to work out, or I got to pick up the slack because he's not as good as me, or I'm not as good as him. There was just something about like, we just kind of got together and we literally just like wrote the song like kind of half and half. And it was just like, oh, wow, that was kind of easy. Maybe we should like try to do this thing. You know what I mean? And
oh yeah,
it was something even kind of weird because I was like, even when I started kind of hinting about this project, people from back home, because whether, you know, being from like a country town or not, like I had never been super country. I've always loved country music, but like I've always like, you know, I was the metal guy or I was the rock guy, and people are like, I'm so surprised you're doing this. And I was like, man, if you know, I haven't lived in that town for like 5 years. I'm like, if you know me now, like, you know that like I just like doing stuff that like I like with my friends. You know what I mean? Like that could look way different across the board. I've done so many different things, and I'm a filmmaker for a living. I'm not even a musician. So I don't even know if people like know that, you know what I mean? So It's just one of those things that like, man, I feel like when you know like who you are and like even who like God's called you to be, you can like go into different areas of what you want to do and like just do it. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about like, is this going to affect my image in a weird way? It's like, who cares? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, if you have those talents, I mean, especially in the creative space, you know, all of that can come together to just help you in the future. I mean, your experience in film can obviously help you guys when you get around to shooting music videos, and then just the diversity in the background of being in a hardcore band, a rock band, and then now doing country. I mean, you could just make the argument that the more diverse your background is, the more it can help you be creative, like in the space that you find that you guys are working the best together.
100%, man. And that's something I told him. And like, he was in, you know, he had a pretty big band in Mississippi. And I think that they, you know, you played a lot of the bar scene and a lot of like different scenes like that.
Yeah. It was on that trajectory of that type of band. And so, man, we called it the old cheese. We play like the Leonard Skinner and the Dirty Rock.
So that was mainly a cover band that you were in, or did you guys do originals, a little mixture of both?
That one was it kind of dismembered before it ever really did anything else. It was kind of during my college years when we were part of that. So just having the experience of working with other people, and like the best experiences with that is the people that you just do stuff with, your best friends, because you get to skip all the like, I'm trying to be impressive, or I feel like I have to be a certain way, and you get down to the bones of like, what are we trying to accomplish, and like, let's put the best foot forward in doing that. And so we literally sat in this room and we're like, let's just write a country song, and it just kind of came together. And we're like, should we like chase that. And I was like, that might be, and we showed a few people and we're like, that might be a thing. And so one thing after the other, like getting connected with the producer, those things that Carson had like kind of paved the path for us. And so just all that kind of just like added up and made sense for us to keep going forward with it. So now it's coming out Friday.
But even if it never, like we said, if it came out and nobody cared and it never did anything, and past those 3 songs we never did anything again, this experience that we've had it's been so worth it to have. And also just for the reason of, growing up doing the metal band, doing the rock band, like getting here, it's like it's provided me, and I'm sure him with doing his bands, it's provided us the knowledge of being like, okay, like if we are going to do this thing, here's how we should do it, because we've spent like 6, 7, 8 years doing it the wrong way. Having the managers that you pay monthly because you think for some reason that's going to help you, and you know what I'm saying. So
absolutely. Well, yeah, and I mean, again, you're gonna make more mistakes than you ever get anything right. But the more that you make them, the more you learn, the more you get to a point where you have the knowledge to be able to move forward and find something again that you're just comfortable with. And like you two seem to work very well together. So it's like the mistakes that you guys probably have both made in your past have made it easier for you guys to come together and move forward in a way that is going to be much more productive.
Sure. Even outside of this project, it's like Carson still does like all the video stuff for my pop stuff. So like this is something we get to come together like completely on and be like, oh, we're both working together, and like when he does things, I get to do things, and it pours into like really taking advantage of both of those talents and putting them together into one spot. So
for sure.
Carson, is that what you do? Is that like your main thing outside of the music, is doing film?
Yeah, so I do like film full time. I do music videos, like a little bit of documentary work. I actually work sometimes with CMA and CMT doing like interview stuff for their artists. And once in a while I get to hop on a movie set and work for a little bit. There's not a ton that comes through Nashville, but I've got to be on a couple of them and work for a few weeks and gain some knowledge there. So
is this something like you went to school for, or is it just something you've been doing for so long, or how did that come about?
I didn't go to school when I was in the band. So I don't know if you remember our drummer Robbie, but he actually he was a filmmaker and a photographer, and I had the idea. I was like, bro, we're just not making any money. I'm like, we got to figure out how to make some money on the road. You're like, man, I do that so well. And so I was like, bro, you have a camera, you can edit. I'm like, I feel like I can talk my way in and out of different situations. I was like, let's figure out a way to where we can partner up, and I'll literally message like local bands that are opening up for the tour package and ask them if they want pictures in a music video that night. And so we would do that literally like every night of the tour, and to the point to where like I think some of the other guys in the band were like a little pissed because we were just making, we were like actually making some money. And
right.
But it came to the point to where I would actually have to start shooting some of it. 'Cause he had another camera, and he was like, man, I need some help. He's like, I appreciate you like talking to the bands and getting them like booked and stuff, but it'd be cool if you could help work too. So it became a thing to where kind of from there I started doing it and just kind of learning. And then from there I took some time off and moved to Nashville. And when I moved, I actually tried to do music. I tried to like find a place to where I could, do anything, play drums, sing, whatever for anybody that needed it. And it's just like such a competitive place down here. It's like, man, you got to be like either just unbelievably good. And a lot of the times that's not enough. You have to have a lot of connections. And so when I first moved here, I ended up having to get a job at T-Mobile. And I was like, man, this is just sucking the life out of me. It's just literally the worst. And
musician life.
Yeah, bro. Met some great people there. And
he sold me a plan.
Yeah.
He sold me a T-Mobile plan.
For sure.
Right. Got to get that money, baby.
T-Mobile.
had to make some money through there. But I got to the point where I'm like, okay, like I still love music and stuff, but I need to find something creative that I can do and start like growing on my own. I'm not a producer. I can't like, I never learned how to like produce my own stuff and didn't really want to. And I'm like, I'm gonna buy a camera and learn how to edit and do all that stuff. And that was like 3.5 years ago. And I've been really blessed. The Lord's like really blessed and blessed me with some great opportunities and great jobs to be able to kind of step into that full time and and that's been super cool because I love film and love acting and have loved that ever since I was like 17, 18 years old. And it's just been like a slow grind to bring it around to where it like makes a living.
Yeah, and I would think that with as much competition as there is in Nashville for musicians, there's obviously an increasing demand for people to take pictures, do music videos. So I would think that like you kind of might have even been lucky enough to find a little area there where there are so many musicians, and you can step in on the side of like, okay, you guys need music videos, you need pictures. So I can imagine that the demand there has only increased, especially in somewhere like Nashville.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's something like, man, everybody is trying to get content. Like even starting, like when I was first starting out, I was working out at a gym and I saw this dude fighting over in the corner, like hitting a heavy bag. I'm like, man, this guy's like a monster. I just want to talk to him and ask if he needs any film work. I was like, man, you obviously know how to fight. Do you need any film work? And he was like, yeah, why not? And I came by one of his like private gyms he was working at, and filmed a thing for him for free and just like gave him some love, and he liked it and posted it, and turned out that he was like a UFC guy. And he ended up like calling me 2 months later, and he's like, hey man, I got a fight in Boston. I don't know if you're a UFC guy at all, but like the headliner was like it was like Stipe Miocic and Francis Ngannou, which are like the some of the best like heavyweights in the world, and he was on that bill. He was like, you should come film for the week for me and like, basically do like a mini doc series on that. And I was like, bro, that would be amazing. And so I got to like travel to a lot of places with that guy and do a lot of different fights and a lot of promo stuff. And, but I think that's like, that's not because I'm just so unbelievably talented. I think a lot of that is two things. It's Nashville has a lot of creative people and a lot of different facets, and they're looking for stuff. And I think that if you just make yourself available and be like, hey, I can do that for you, people will jump on the chance to have that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it's about doing what you did, just putting yourself out there, because you're never going to find someone like that if you don't take the initial step to say, hey, I have a service, I'll do X, Y, and Z for you. And then I think a lot of people miss those opportunities because some people might just be unwilling to work for free in the beginning, but sure, that's the biggest way that you get your name out there. And that if people like your work, they'll start seeing it, and then it builds from there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Was that, what time frame was that in when you hooked up with the UFC fighter?
That was a few years ago. I would say it's probably 2 years ago. It was a little bit ago. And yeah, it was a great thing, man. I even got to the point in like my film career, if you would call it that, to where I was starting out, I was doing projects for really small amount of money just to get my name out there. And I started to get more work, and then I raised my prices, and I was getting a few things of like a few projects for that price. And then I was getting other people coming back and being like, hey, I don't have that money, but I'd love to work. Do you want to do a video for this? And I'm like, oh, sorry, man. I've like raised my price. I can't do that. And then I would find myself just like sitting, for weeks on it with no work. I'm like, man, I gotta figure out that like, it's not about the money. It's about like, if you have like a great, like somebody has a great song or like a great opportunity to hang and you can like do that to get paid. You're like, you're already kind of living the dream. You know what I mean? I was like, I could go back to T-Mobile and make that money, throughout the week and work 40 hours a week. And so just being able to switch that mindset up, and like, I think God really kind of helped me on that, but like being able to switch a mindset up and be like, hey, when you can get back to like loving your craft. And that's even like what we did is like, we had no intention of, and like we said, this we're just putting out our first song. It's not like we're this huge country stars, but we had no intention of like, man, when we first wrote the song, it's like, we're going to make $1 million. It's like, this is just really fun. And we really enjoy that. And I think if you can go back through time and find people that just really, truly enjoyed what they were doing and were constantly trying to get better at it, they were the ones that ended up being super successful because they didn't make it about anything else but the craft and but what they could bring to it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And it's easy to get lost in that, when you're trying to take something that you love and that you enjoy and then turn it into the business side. It's very easy to get lost in that transition because it starts, as much as you don't want it to become about the money, it just can, so it's good to like get reminded to come back to square one and realize why you're doing what you're doing, that you enjoy it. And when you get to a certain skill set, I mean, you do have a price point that you got to figure out for yourself. And that's probably the hardest part, is figuring out that line of, I can do this for this, but I can't do it for any less than this. And then you get that battle of, well, this is what I love to do, and these people need help. So where is that line that I can say, let me help you and let me not help you, or I can't help you. If that makes sense. It's a weird gray area of, I've done this for so long and this is how I make my living, but also I love this so much, and some people just can't afford my services, but maybe I can find a different way to help them or something like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's, I'm not like, I believe in like, I'm not like a karma guy or anything like that, but I do believe that like when you step into a place and be like, I believe in this person, and maybe they don't have the exact price that I need or whatever, but like I believe in the song and I believe in them, and I'm going to give them what I like. I'm going to give them all I got. And that's going to come back around to me, just because that's what happens when you like sow into somebody, you reap that. You know what I mean? It's just like, I feel like the way that the world works. So.
Yeah, and you never know, man. You may take that opportunity to say, hey, these guys can't pay me what I typically charge, but I do believe in them. I think what they have going on is great. And then they might be the next country music star. They might be the next, rock band that hits it big. And then next thing you know, it's worked out for both of you. So, I mean, it's good to take those opportunities when they arrive sometimes. But like you said, if you believe in the person, or you believe in the project, or you believe in what's going on, I guess that's where the difference can be, because you never know what can happen from those situations.
Yeah, we've had probably each person along the line of like producing, mastering, mixing, all those things, that have believed in this. And so they've done the exact same thing. So as much as a service that we can afford to give to somebody else, we've seen that even in our own project, where people are like, we just believe in the song, so we're going to like
cut your deal here. Yeah.
And so this has been one of the cheapest things I've done so far in my music career. And it's just been a blessing. And I think it's been one of the most like radio, like things, like in country music, it sounds like something that country people want to hear. And so it's been like the most on the head thing I've done so far.
Yeah. So, that's cool.
I'm excited.
That's awesome. How many songs do you guys have written so far?
We have quite a few demos, but like finished, we only have this one finished song. And then, like I said, we're going to the studio next week to start on another one and finish a second one. But we probably have like 5 or 6 unfinished demos. And that's been the thing, is that I think the first time that we even talked about this, we were like, hey, if this is fun, let's do it. And like, if it stops becoming fun, we're doing something wrong. And I believe you can do that at any level. And I actually, one time when I was filming a CMA thing, we were doing a interview special, and Garth Brooks was on, and he came in, and like the dude was wearing like a Waffle House hat and like a plaid shirt. And he was just like the best vibe. It was just like, bro, it was unbelievable. And like Garth Brooks is like, he's the second highest like physical selling artist of all time. Like he sold like over 170 million copies.
His CDs in Walmart.
Yeah. Like that's crazy.
It's a big deal.
He's like, I mean, if there's anybody that has the technical right, I don't know if anybody ever does, but to be cocky, it's him. And bro, when he walked in, like he literally like handshakes, looking in people's eyes, like thanked the crew, like was the kindest guy that we interviewed. And I'm by far for that day. And we interviewed a lot of people, and it was just like, man, if this guy can still be this humble about what he's doing, and like still believe in like so much more about what he's doing, like it's not just about music for him, it's about people, obviously. And if he can do that, we've got to figure out how to do that at the beginning of our career, at the middle, if it blows up, whatever it is like, man, he's figured out that it's like, it's still fun for him. And he's like, man, I still get to like be involved with people. And that just like, that crushed me. I remember even talking to you about that. I'm like, man, he's the best. I'm like, we got to be that always. Cause if we're ever not like that, then we're doing something wrong, and we probably won't write music. And like coming back to how many songs we have, I think we have a lot of really great songs. We don't have a ton, but we just kind of write when we feel, it's like, you want to write today? And it's like, sort of. I'm like, okay, well, let's not do it. You know what I mean? It's just like, we have no rush. We have no like time limit. And that's the beauty of like, 1, being indie, and 2, just being like, well, let's just do it when it's fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only way to be sustainable too, is, I mean, as soon as it starts feeling like a job, I mean, you're on a downward trajectory for it staying alive and for the passion that you guys feel about it now to stay there. And yeah, it's funny that you bring up Garth Brooks, because I've seen some of his like Instagram stuff, and he's one of the funniest dudes. Like it makes sense what you're saying about him, because he has some of the funniest, most intriguing stuff like on Instagram. And so it makes sense that he's somehow found a way to still have that passion, but also he just seems like he's just being himself and he's just enjoying it. And it's important that everybody finds that, for sure.
There's a country music documentary of him where he wasn't playing the bill, but he shows up and signs autographs for 19 hours. Stands out there and signs autographs. His stuff was like number one at the time. He just wasn't playing that festival, and literally just stood there and shook everybody's hand. This is back during his prime. And I'm like, man, that's just like, in anything you do, it's all about the people you're doing it for. If it becomes like way about yourself, then it's obvious it's about you, and then that doesn't go anywhere, really. Yeah. So
about giving back 100%, especially to people who were there from the beginning. And like one of the things I do on the YouTube channel is I do like monthly giveaways every single month for people who have been, they've been on the channel, people who are always commenting, they're always, chatting with me on Instagram or whatever. Like that's, it's important to give back like that. And that's what you guys are saying is exactly how I was feeling just from the start of this. I was like, this is something that's semi-successful. It's nothing crazy, but at the same time, I do have people that I'm seeing all the time. And those are the people who they've been here since square one. So it's like, if I can find a way to get back to them, that's super important. And that's what I feel like everybody who gets into the creative space has to have some sort of mindset like that. Cause like you said, once it becomes about you, that's all that it's about from that point forward.
That's good, man. That's so true. And that's, I don't know. I think the quicker that you can learn about like, how do we affect and help and love on more people, the not just successful, but the more like fulfilled you'll be in your life. I mean, that's what Jesus did. I mean, we found that like every time we've ever like, studied the Bible or figured anything out. So I just want to be like that for sure. So. Absolutely.
How did you, Carson, how'd you get linked up with the CMA and the CMT stuff that you said that you were doing?
So I was actually, my wife was on a TV show, kind of like a kids TV show back in the day for a little while. And she had a girl that she was on there with that is her friend now. And her husband does camera work. And he was living out in LA at the time. And the company that does a lot of stuff with CMT and CMA were out in LA. And they were coming to Nashville, and they're like, hey, we got some events here. Do you know anybody that could come and like do some camera op stuff? And they're like, yeah, I know this guy. And so from there, I was able to connect and do a few jobs with them. And it's been great, super great company. And I've tried to keep it. I've never told anybody there that I do any type of country music, just because I've been in the same room with like a bunch of like high profile country artists and a bunch of people that would be the people that you would show your songs to. And I've never just wanted to be like, bro, the guy that like brought me on, the head of like the film company, just like the best dude, super kind. And I would just like, I never want him to feel like I'm like, oh sweet, like trying to slip my demo to somebody like in the middle of filming, you know what I mean? So
I literally picture you walking in, you're like, can you sign this? I'm like, bam, my EP. It's
been kind of interesting because I'm like, man, it would be super funny if like the band blew up and then like on the call sheet was my band, and like maybe I was working that day and I get to like it's my dream of mine.
You told me the story.
I'm working the camera and I'm like take my shirt off. I got a cooler shirt underneath. I'm like, boom, what's up? I'm in this video. Maybe that's weird. That's probably weird.
I told him it leaves the whole staff like, who's gonna run the camera now?
Right.
Whole plan for the day.
Like, well, thanks for making it crazy hard on us. So
that was a cool moment for you, but that just really screwed us over.
No, it was yeah, that's probably not going to happen. I'm not, if that would be the case, I wouldn't do it that way. But
that would be hilarious, though.
Yeah, it'd be a funny thing to think about. But yeah, I never wanted to be like, because that would just be so awkward, you know. It's like, hey, I'm here to do this job, but I also do this stuff too. You know what I mean? It's just like that's not like good business in any way. So
it's weird. Yeah, it's weird when you find yourself in those situations. It's weird figuring out how you should navigate it, because I mean, you do hear about people who they take advantage of a situation like that and they say, yeah, this is my job, but like I said, hey, I'm going to put myself out there and just give my demo to X, Y, and Z, or I was in the same room as this guy and I just figured, hey, I got to meet him. But then on the other end, like you're thinking, it's like, do I really want to be that person? Because if, most likely this isn't going to work out in my favor. So, and then I just look stupid at my job.
100%.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
And I know, like, and if that happened to me and I was running the company, like I would, even if I loved the dude that was doing that, I'd be like, man, I have to let you go because now you're making it hard for like us to do our job. Because now we're worried you're going to be like bugging the people that we're here to work for. And so
exactly.
But something that we talk about, and like Drew's got a really big TikTok page that he does a lot of like fun videos on, and something that we found just with TikTok and just in general, like if the song is good enough, it's gonna work out. You know what I mean? Like I don't really know a song that even know songs that aren't that good that work out, but I'm saying if the song is good enough, like people will hear it. It'll get to the place it needs to be. You know what I mean? I don't think we live in a world anymore where like great songs get buried. There's just too many opportunities for people to hear it.
Well, and especially if you're constantly putting it out there and you're taking advantage of the new platforms like TikTok. I mean, any artist who's out right now who isn't on TikTok is they're just shooting themselves in the foot. Essentially, because it's so easy to go viral on TikTok now, especially if you do have something good, a product that's good, and God forbid you create a dance to it, and then and then it just goes insane.
Right. Yeah.
What's been cool is seeing some of the older bands get on TikTok because, like Christina Perri, her song "Human" has been blowing up. Like the audio of that song has been blowing up on TikTok lately. And she recently just got on there. She's like, I guess I'd get on since my music is blowing up here. And then same for Simple Plan.
Yeah.
I'm Just a Kid. That song is like massive on
Sexy
TikTok
Back
right
too, right? JT?
Oh, did he jump on?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. So all those songs just kind of randomly just pop up out of nowhere. And the artist is like, I guess I'll get on the bandwagon now.
For sure.
Well, it's allowing, stuff that was more or less from our generation, the Simple Plan, those kind of bands, they haven't really reached the newest generation yet. And so now this is an entirely new platform where things can get refreshed and new and older songs that were popular 20 years ago can now, become, I don't want to say go number one, but definitely can go viral again. And so it's breathing new life into things that probably seemed for a while they were kind of, old school or just kind of classic songs that, people in our age group would still listen to. But now it just creates that opportunity for anything to go viral, whether it was created 20 years ago or 20 days ago.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you guys
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, are you guys doing, because I know you're saying Drew is doing his own TikTok. Are you guys doing like a TikTok for this project as well? Or how are you guys like doing the social media thing?
Yeah, we've started to get some stuff together. We've got like a lyric video that we're putting out and we're trying to put out content. It's so funny that like, I basically put out content for other people for a living, but it's like, when it's your own stuff, you just want it to be different and feel like it's like, special in different ways. And so we've come up with a few different things to do. We're doing an acoustic version of the song that we actually recorded the other day. So we're going to do a video to that. We're doing some covers kind of actually right out here on Drew's porch step. So we're calling them porch step covers, just like different things to breathe some life into it. And just some, just trying to come up with ideas to give future fans some content that, they'd want to see.
Beyond just birthing a song, like it's you're birthing like a whole band and like an idea. And so we've kind of like, with the name being El Rey, we've kind of like captured this like Western country like vibe to it, but we want it to still feel like it's familiar, like the sound and everything like that. And so it's been fun, like dreaming that up. I think that like for us, the concept makes sense and it's like nailed down. And so just like communicating that to the world through all the platforms that we currently have. And I think the best bet is like potentially like us doing that. Because Carson's has his projects, I've had my projects, but we haven't done anything together. This being the first time music wise. And so us being able to use both of our like platforms to say, hey, like check this out is reaching new people in a better way. So that's been fun too.
And if you want, we can tell you a little secret about our 5-year plan that I think that could be pretty cool if you're interested in hearing.
Yeah, lay it out, man. Absolutely.
So
I don't know if I've heard this before.
No, he's heard it. The song pops off. We get a number one. That's amazing. What we do with the money, first thing that we do is, well, after we do our tithe, we got to do that first thing we do after that. 10%. We buy a food truck, okay? And
I've heard of this.
We do an El Rey food truck, and Drew is a crazy good cook. And so he has this special sandwich that's called the Egg Ray. And it's literally an egg sandwich that's like my favorite thing in the world. And so
awesome.
The goal is for us to like run a food truck in
Nashville.
Yeah, in Nashville.
Signing autographs. Yeah, like, come visit us.
Running it ourselves and cooking in the back and making egg sandwiches for people that like our music. Like that would just be the dream.
Some people leave the 9 to 5 when they get the dream. When we get the dream, we're going back to the 9 to 5.
We're gonna get back to that grind, that food truck grind.
I love it. Yeah, and you got to get a speaker and just blare all your music the entire time.
100%, just our stuff.
People will hate it.
That's so funny. I love that. When you guys came together, did you guys didn't move to Nashville to technically work together, right? You guys kind of just both ended up there and then were in contact and said that this is did you guys move to Nashville around the same time, or was it like, what was that time frame like when all that was going on?
I was 2017 is when I moved to Nashville. And so I met him pretty quick after I moved here.
Yeah.
So,
I think I moved like into 2016. Yeah. Around there.
And then we just did ministry. Like we were just homies for 2 years and like no agenda. We just did life together, and like our wives are close friends as well. And there's a group of probably like 5 or 6 couples that just like always hung out. But like it was to the point where the first few like months hanging out, we hung out every night. Like we went bowling, skating, like we did like movie nights that was when Movie Pass was a thing. So we all had Movie Pass and just like taking advantage of the system.
For sure. I don't know. Are you living now where you've always lived, or are you in a new spot?
No, I'm in Los Angeles now.
Oh, that's dope, man.
Yeah. I moved out here a little over 2 years ago, and then I grew up in North Carolina. I was living in Seattle with the dudes from Versus for a little while, and then I ended up moving down here after that.
Yeah, that's sick. So, have you been able to find like a good like community of friends and like homies to spend time with, or has it been kind of tough for you?
Well, so luckily what I do outside of the YouTube channel and music is I bartend. So, and that was the only way that I made it work when I moved here is I got lucky enough to find a solid bartending gig. And then from there is really who I've met most of the people that I know who are here. I really haven't made my way into any of the music industry side of it here. I was making music, and I was trying to go to different studios when I got here, but I wasn't finding anything that I record as well. And so I wasn't finding anything that was helping me any more than I was able to do it on my own. And then I was spending much more money trying to go to studios, because I was trying to use that way to also kind of network, meet people, meet engineers who might know people kind of thing. But most of the people I know from here are just people that I've worked with and like friends of friends that I've met. And that's another reason why I'm trying to use this podcast as a way to stay in contact with just my musician friends, even that I've met over the years, and maybe even use this as an easier way to meet more people who are in the industry, if that makes sense.
Sure, for sure. And like you said, we were kind of hanging out every night. When you move to a new spot, and I bet you found this with bartending, like meeting people, you're like, wait, I can have friends again. You're like, it's like when you grow up somewhere, you grow up with friends, and you're like, man, I hate leaving here, because I'm not just leaving like a life, I'm leaving like basically my family, my friends I grew up with. So I think that like, man, finding a good community wherever you're at in your new spot is like vital, because otherwise you'll just feel like you're just crazy lonely, and that's that sucks for everybody. So
well, and that happens. I mean, I watched that happen here with people in Los Angeles as soon as I moved here, because when I moved here, I was renting out someone's living room in an apartment. Like I was paying like $550 a month to sleep on an air mattress. I was sharing the living room actually with somebody else who was renting. Like I didn't know any of these people, but I knew that that's what I would have to do in the beginning to try and get on my feet and like make it here. And the apartment complex I was living in just had so many people who were around my age, they were doing the same thing. They were like subletting living rooms and like renting spaces on people's couches, because they were musicians, they were filmographers, they were videographers, they were, people trying to be content creators, and everybody had this sense of like, I gotta to put on this front. I got to fake it till I make it. And
Sure.
I could tell that a lot of these people who were hanging out with each other, they weren't actually friends. Like, they didn't actually connect. They were all trying to put on this persona to try and act like they're someone who they're not, to hopefully, I guess, be successful in whatever avenue that they were trying to pursue. And I know a lot of people from then who are already moved back home where they came from, because it's just, after a while, I guess it's not sustainable, when you just know that everyone's fake and nothing feels real. It's like, it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Bro, even like people that like have been honest about like faking it till they make it, like the ones that are successful now, like a lot of those people I find like still don't seem happy. You know what I mean? Like, you do all that to get to the place that you thought was going to bring you like fulfillment, and it doesn't. What then? You know what I mean? It's like, well, now what do I do? I know going back down the ladder doesn't make me any happier. And so like being genuine up front and like coming up to somebody and being like, hey, I think you might be more successful than me. You do music, whatever it is. Like, all that aside, I think I like you as a person. You seem awesome. Like, I would love to hang out with you and love to like spend some time together, because I just like that is like that connection, that community of like, that's what we as humans like want the most. You know what I mean?
I tell you, like, this is like an honest take. Like, when I think about El Rey and I think about like the potential of what might happen, say it's like the biggest thing ever, whatever. I think more about, and I get more excited about and more passionate about, not singing on stage in front of thousands of people, but like the hangs on the bus when it's just like us, like me and Carson and his wife and my wife.
Sure.
Like Nintendo 64, like going out late to Waffle House, like my son being there, like that's the stuff that I get like amped about. And I'm like, I want my wife to be a tour bus wife. And like, she's like, I'm down. She's like, let's go.
She's like, I'll drive, I'll do whatever, I'll hang out.
And so,
sure.
and I can honestly say that, like, that's like a pure place in my heart where I'm like, the money would be awesome, but like the fact that my wife doesn't have to worry about money anymore and we can just hang, like that would be sweet.
Yeah. And that's so, it's just so important for sure.
Well, because I mean, and if you try and build, if you do get lucky enough and you build something off of something that's not genuine, and something that, you did fake it till you make it, or whatever, whatever the case may be, when you get there, it's there can't be fulfillment, because you just built it off of lies. So I mean, I think it's very important that you guys have the right mindset going into it, and just this is fun, and take it seriously, but also at the same time, if we're going to make sure that we're happy the entire way, because if not, then if you do go somewhere, if you do make it, then I mean, it's not really going to matter if you're not happy, if you haven't done it genuinely.
For sure. I think the quicker you find out that life isn't about you, and it's about how to affect other people for the better, I think that you'll quickly be fulfilled no matter where you're at,
Yeah. And getting into the music side of it, like, that's the choice that we decided to make in our writing, is like, we want to write songs that sound like other country songs, but the storyline is not about like who I can get with tonight, or like what I can do to forget, like, but it's like, it talks about like the good in life. And it's not like, there may be a song that makes you cry that we will put out, but like, we wanted to encourage people with what we have to say, and like build people up and stuff. And so,
absolutely, yeah. If you want to touch on just the message of the music even more, like what with the songs you have written, the song that's coming out now, what is the message? What's the overall vibe of it?
Yeah,
man. We nothing against like people that drink. We don't drink. We just have like. I've never really drank, and I think you might have like known that from me about tour, but I just like, I don't know, it's just never been a thing that I've like not that I cared if other people did it, but I just never wanted to do it personally. It was kind of the same for him, and it was kind of got to the point to where I was listening to country music, and I'm like, and after doing these interviews, I'm like, do they almost have to talk about drinking every song? Like, I can't find a song that doesn't talk about beer, and like, they're not talking about like, a lot of times they're not talking about beer in a way of like, that's wrong. They're just like, that's the only content that talked about. So when we first started to get together, we were like, okay, if neither of us drink, could we honestly write a song about drinking and it feel honest to us? And
we're like, we love beer.
Yeah, we were both like,
right?
Yeah.
We're still working on it.
I'm like, we were both like, no, we don't think that would be honest. And so I was like, let's try to write a country song that doesn't talk about drinking. And so, and we also are both like, we're both Christians and both like believe in Jesus, and it, I'm definitely not perfect, and had a lot of mistakes, and before, marriage and life, and still do, and I'm sure you have too. And we also talked about, like, okay, if we don't want to talk about like hooking up with people just for the sake of it, because we feel like that just leaves people lonely and empty, like, how do we write country songs that aren't mixed in with that? Because like it's actually really hard. I don't know if you listen to a lot of it, but it's hard to find those. They don't like exist as much. And so we almost took that on as a challenge of like, hey, let's write something that's like, we're not like a Christian country band, I don't think that exists. We're not like, Jesus, let me spend time. It's nothing like that.
Slipping into the gospel.
Yeah. It's not like that. We like our faith is like something that I feel like that's something that we like to do in person. It's not something that we feel like you need to hear through our songs or through the films that we make or whatever it is. But like, we wanted to talk about like, how could we like live life the way that we do it, and it still be catchy for people and be like, hey, I really like that. Like that. So that was kind of like, that was actually a hard challenge, because there's so many times where it's like, man, it would be easy to put beer in here. You know what I mean? Like, it just rhymes. Like, it feels good. Like, and so it's definitely been a challenge for sure, but it's been fun. And I'm actually super excited to see like how people react to it. And I'm also excited to see if people notice as much as we think that they will. You know what I mean?
And then the real you, or real you is what we've titled the first song, is all about like not wearing that mask. So like being honest, that's the character we want to have in our band. And so we're just encouraging like that for like a dating relationship. And so it's modern. It talks about like, hey, like we were texting, like we were DMing, and you didn't like, you acted like we were like a thing. And then when I see you in person, like you're like distant, like what's up with that? And the chorus is like, I just want to know the real you. I want to know your heart. And kind of goes on to say, I don't want to be like left behind like all the others have. My favorite part, honestly, is the bridge where it talks about, it's like, hey, if you don't see me like on one knee or at the end of your aisle, then maybe we're just like wasting a lot of time. And like, we should just like call it quits or something. Cause I'm ready to have the real thing. Yeah. So that's kind of like the whole like heart behind the first song. And what's even more of a challenge is like the second one that we're working on. It's called The River. And I was like, how do you not talk about beer at the river? Like, those two go together in the country world. And 100%. So, but yeah, man, it's been a journey, even like before we even put a song out, but it's been a lot of fun. It's like putting the puzzle pieces together.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think that could be a really cool avenue for you guys, is because it can be done. Absolutely. It's tough because sex and alcohol sells, but I think you guys have an opportunity to creatively write songs where you can reference those things or even still talk about those things in a way that you guys agree with it, and maybe even just have like a double meaning to them. There's an avenue there where I think you guys can get really creative with the songwriting.
Yeah, for sure. 100%, man. And that's just, that's what we want to do. We don't want to like pressure people to feel weird because we're writing songs that don't talk about drinking or don't talk about that. You know what I mean? It's like, we want people to be able to feel like they can be themselves when they listen to our stuff, but we just want to talk about stuff that we feel like have like worked for us, like long-term in our life, and like, make us feel more fulfilled and like who we are today. So.
And so it's going to be full instrumental music, right? You guys, drums, bass, guitars, all the above?
Yeah.
Are you guys switching off on instruments, or you guys like have dedicated ones that you're going to be playing, or what's that look like?
Yeah. So I sing and I play drums. I don't know if I'm going to play drums in the band. I might play for a song or there. And that's funny. We were talking about live just because, bro, with COVID, live looks so different now. You know what I mean? Like every band, every artist that I know of, they've just been like not been able to play any shows. And so that's been something for us that we're like, man, we can definitely talk about it, but I don't even know when we would play like right now at this point. But it's just one of those things that like, I think live is just such from being a live musician for a long time, like live is such a mix of like, how can you be personal with an audience, but also how can you put on a show? And so whichever way we can figure out to do that, I think is the best. And I also just say that because I don't play many instruments, and I wish I would have learned when I was younger. But that's
told
okay.
my dad for years that piano was for girls, and that's the dumbest thing I've
Yeah.
ever said. I'm like, why didn't I learn? So.
Drew can play guitar, and I think I can play a G chord, which I did that the other day, which is pretty cool.
I got tutorials on the channel if you need them, bro.
I need to learn.
That's
but,
the move.
It's been kind of cool. One thing that we learned, and he's way more musical than me, instruments and stuff. But one thing that we learned is I've learned how to write songs without having instruments because I just didn't have them and didn't know how to play.
You're saying the other day at the studio.
More say so. So it's just been a thing of man, when you don't know how to do something and maybe you don't have the ability to learn or don't have the resources or whatever it is, you find a way around it. And I think that's how, if you look back on history, that's how we've got some of our most creative thinkers, some of our most creative problem solvers, people that have made a difference because they didn't have what they needed. I was my sister-in-law is a teacher here in Nashville, and she was talking. She actually went to a meeting where it was with the guys that created Google Earth. And they were like, how did you guys create Google Earth? That's the most crazy thing. And they were like, we were unbelievably bored as children. You know, we had no Game Boys. We didn't have anything. And we had TV, but we weren't allowed to watch it that much. And it was just we thought, how cool would it be if we could somehow set up some type of screen and scroll all over the world and see what everything looks like. And from there birthed Google Earth. You know what I mean? That's crazy. That if those guys would have had everything that they technically would have needed in the beginning, who knows if they would have created it at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, if you're passionate about something, you'll find a way to make it work. I think that's just no matter what, if you love music, if you want to write songs, and you'll find a way to make it work, whether you know how to play guitar or you don't, or you know how to sing or whatever it may be. And it seems like you guys have a solid dynamic where you're complementing each other. And so that, that's only going to help you guys move forward.
For sure. And Carson's a guy that even if he's not a part of the project, you want him in the room just for the hype. So there's a handful of tracks that he's on just screaming in the background just because he's just there, and we're like, hey man, be gang vocals for us and just have a good time. And so it just makes things better.
Hell yeah. So about with the release, you said the first song's this coming Friday, yeah?
Yeah.
June 6th. Then June 6th?
Yeah. This Friday, whatever date that is.
Gotcha. And then what's your plans for the releases after the fact? Are you guys looking at trying to throw together an EP? Are these all just going to be singles? Are you looking at possibly an album?
Yeah, we're gonna do a single a month apart, and then the goal also is to do some acoustic versions of the songs and some covers in between. And so the goal is it's June 5th for The Real You. The River comes out in the goal is July 3rd, which is so
it'll be out for July 4th weekend. That just makes sense.
Yeah. and then in August, we got a new one that we're putting together this Wednesday. And so the goal for that one is to come out in August. So 30 days apart. And then what we'll do is we might write one more or have one more to put together, but we'll probably just do a 3 or 4 song EP. And then we're also going to release acoustic EP of those songs as well.
Yeah.
So,
and you being a musician, I'm sure you know, if the stuff gets steamed, then we're going to be on it more. We're going to, that's the plan. That's the 90-day plan. But I mean, if it gets backed and things happen, then we'll probably be in the studio a lot more often.
For sure.
It's something that, like we said, do you feel like writing today? Let's do it. Let's what new can we figure out, find out, and do? And
for sure.
It's been a lot of fun, man.
Do you guys demo at all at home, or is it just when you go to the studios when you start laying down stuff?
Bro, we demo we literally just me, him, acoustic guitar, and a phone, and we record that. And then we send that to our producer and see if he thinks it's something that he would want to it's worth working on. And that's been so cool to us because I'm sure you have been through so many different processes of the demoing stage. At one point, a dude in my band was, pretty solid producer. And so we would demo everything with him. And, I've also demoed just from voice notes. And there's just something that cool, stripping back to just just your voices and a guitar. And if it sounds good from there, it's only going to get better. You know what I mean? Production's only going to make it better. And that's been something that like we've enjoyed. And like, I think even one night we tried to do a demo in here, and we're both like just very under average producers, and we were in GarageBand. It was just sounding crazy bad. So we were like, let's just not do this.
That can be so disheartening.
I'm like, we don't need anybody. We could do this. So we got to the end and we're like, we need somebody so bad. So bad.
My biggest problem in life is that every time I pick up a guitar, I play it, and like I'm trying to do the pop thing, and like I'm like, everything I sing and play just sounds country. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't get away from like country. So like, there's something really special about having a guitar and our voices, and then just going from there, and then it's magic happens
for sure.
Absolutely. And who's the producer that you guys are working with?
My buddy Kyle, actually. It's really cool. Yeah, he's a monster, man. He's a dude in town that's actually really known for like his R&B stuff and his hip hop stuff. And his name's Kyle Jefferson, and his stuff is just crazy. And he's worked on a couple of my pop songs.
Jay Forgiven.
Yeah, Jay Forgiven's is Instagram.
Look him up because he's awesome.
He's amazing. And I came to him one day and I was like, bro, I'm writing a country song with one of my homies. I'm like, would you want to hear it and produce it? And he's like, yeah, 100%. And so it was super cool because he had not done a ton of country before, but man, he's just like killed it. And so we also got Mike Proctor to mix the songs, and he's done bands like Little Big Town and Easton Corbin and like just a lot of big country bands. And so it's been cool to like get a team of people that some are like way outside the box and which have like brought in new stuff to us as well. And like, we're not like technical country writers. And so I feel like we've been able to hopefully bring some stuff that's kind of new that maybe people haven't really heard as much before in the country world. So that's totally like fine with me. I'm like stoked to be able to do stuff that people are like, I don't know if I've heard that before, but I like it a lot. You know,
Mike's the man too. I actually got to meet him this past week in person. Like, we've actually just corresponded over email this whole time and over the phone. And I can't remember how we got connected with Mike, but anyways, we found out about Mike, and him and a guy named Moses, Sam Moses, did the mastering, and they do a lot of stuff together.
Yeah.
And it's just a sweet team, and it's a quick team. And so that's what I'm most excited about, is that I think these guys, we could have a demo today, go to Kyle tomorrow, get it probably, if we want to get it done that day, we probably can, and he can get it to mastered and mixed and all those things pretty quick.
We could turn a song around in like 3 to 5 days if we really wanted to. So,
which is fun. Cool. I don't know what standard for industry, but like when it's just like people that are like a rock throw away from us, like we just drive to their house and be like, let's hang for a few hours and get something done. Then it happens.
Well, yeah. And I mean, if the time frame doesn't matter, if they get you the product that you like and it worked and it was easy and you guys all meshed well, I mean, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
And it was definitely that, for sure.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, fellas, I'm excited. I will go ahead and just start wrapping this up. But if you guys want to drop any social media, if you want to talk about, the release date again, if you guys want to shout out anybody, by all means, for anybody who's listening, so they can go check you guys out.
Yeah, for sure. So the release day is June the 5th. And it's the first one. So I don't know if it's premiere or debut, or you say both together. Yeah. I don't know the difference.
All the above.
All of them. So, and we're at El Rey Band on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
So add us on there and follow. If you want to share a picture or whatever, we'll shout you out on there
for sure.
too. And bro, it's just been a pleasure being here with you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate taking your time.
Same guy. Absolutely, man. Yeah, you guys have been awesome, and I'm excited for the songs. So hopefully anybody who watches this is as well. And I'll definitely link, all the socials and everything at the bottom of these videos, and then in the description. And Carson, I'll keep in contact with you and let you know whenever I get it edited down, and I'll shoot it to you so you can check out everything and just make sure that there's nothing you don't want changed or taken out, or you guys can come together and figure all that stuff out. But yes, I do appreciate you guys taking the time. It's been really, really cool.
Bro, thank you, man. It means a lot. Hope you're doing well, and we'd love to, when we get out to LA, we need to get together for sure.
Yeah, come through, dude. Yeah, I'd love to have you guys on in person and we can jam.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
So nice to meet you, bro.
Yeah, man. Same to you guys. Carson, I'll hit you up, okay?
All right, buddy.
I'll take care. Be safe.
All right.